I, 28F, never thought I'd be writing this, but here I am. My life has turned into a soap opera, and I need advice on how to handle this mess. Some background. My mom passed away when I was 12 from breast cancer. It was a devastating time for my dad and me. We were incredibly close, and he became my rock during those difficult years. We'd spend weekends working on puzzles, watching old movies, and just being there for each other. It wasn't perfect, but we were managing. Then, when I was 16, my dad started dating again. At first, I was happy for him. He deserved to find love again, and I wanted him to be happy. That's when Diane, 45F, entered our lives. She seemed nice at first, always complimenting my dad, bringing little gifts for me, and trying to include me in their outings. I was cautiously optimistic, but things started to change after they got married a year later. Diane's true colors began to show. She'd make subtle comments about my appearance, comparing herself to me in ways that made me uncomfortable. Once, when I wore a new dress to a family dinner, she disappeared upstairs and came back wearing something nearly identical, but more revealing. She'd laugh it off as a fun coincidence, but the look in her eyes told a different story. As I got older, things got weirder. Diane would accidentally walk in on me changing, or make inappropriate comments about my body. She'd try to give me advice about boys, but it always felt off somehow. I started spending more time away from home, throwing myself into school and extracurricular activities. My dad seemed oblivious to it all. Whenever I tried to talk to him about Diane's behavior, he'd brush it off as women being women, or tell me I was being too sensitive. It created a rift between us that I didn't know how to bridge. Fast forward to 3 years ago when I met Jake, 30M. We hit it off immediately at a mutual friend's barbecue. He was funny, kind, and genuinely interested in my thoughts and feelings. After years of feeling like I was walking on eggshells at home, Jake's presence in my life was like a breath of fresh air. Our relationship progressed quickly. Within 6 months, we were talking about moving in together. That's when Diane's behavior took another turn. She'd make excuses to touch Jake, laughing too hard at his jokes and finding reasons to be around him. Once, she accidentally spilled wine on his shirt at a family dinner and insisted on helping him clean up, following him to the bathroom. Jake noticed too and started avoiding her. He'd make sure we only visited when my dad was home, and he'd never be alone in a room with Diane. It made family gatherings tense, but I was grateful he understood without me having to explain everything. Last year, Jake proposed during a weekend trip to the beach. It was perfect, just the two of us, the sound of the waves and a beautiful sunset. I was over the moon. But when we announced it to my family, I saw something flash in Diane's eyes. It wasn't happiness or excitement. It was something else. Something that made my skin crawl. From that moment on, Diane's behavior became even more erratic. She'd call Jake at odd hours, claiming she needed help with something around the house. She'd show up at his workplace saying she was in the neighborhood. Jake always handled it gracefully, but I could see it was wearing on him. Now, here's where things get crazy. Last month, we had a family dinner to celebrate my dad's birthday. It was tense from the start. Diane kept making passive-aggressive comments about the wedding planning, implying that I was being a bridezilla, even though we'd barely started discussing details. After dinner, Diane insisted on ordering dessert, even though we were all full. She disappeared to talk to the waiter and came back with some fancy chocolate cake that looked amazing. I took a bite and immediately knew something was wrong. My throat started closing up, and I couldn't breathe. See, I have a severe peanut allergy. I developed it when I was a teenager, shortly after my mom passed away. It was a difficult time, adjusting to life without mom and suddenly having to be hyper-vigilant about what I ate. Everyone in my family knows this. I always carry an EpiPen, but in the chaos, I couldn't find it. Jake rushed me to the ER while my dad tried to figure out what happened. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed it was a peanut reaction. When my dad confronted Diane, she swore she had no idea there was peanut butter in the cake. But here's the kicker. Jake overheard her talking to the waiter when she ordered. He swears she specifically asked for the peanut butter chocolate cake and made sure it wasn't labeled. I was in the hospital for 2 days. During that time, Diane kept trying to visit me alone, but Jake wouldn't leave my side. On the second day, Jake went to grab coffee and Diane cornered him in the hallway. She tried to kiss him, saying they could comfort each other while I was sick. Jake pushed her away and told me everything. When I confronted Diane, she denied everything. She cried and said Jake was lying, that he'd been coming on to her for months. She spun this whole story about how uncomfortable she'd been, but she didn't want to tell me because she knew how happy I was. It was all lies, but she was convincing. So convincing that my dad believed her. He said I was being dramatic and disrespectful to my stepmom. He brought up times from my teenage years when I'd been moody or distant, using them as evidence that I'd always had a problem with Diane. It was like he'd completely forgotten the close relationship we'd had before she came into our lives. I was furious. I told them both that I was done. I wasn't going to stick around and let Diane try to kill me again or seduce my fiancé. My dad accused me of tearing the family apart with wild accusations. He said I was jealous of Diane and always had been. Here's where it gets even messier. My grandpa, Dad's father, passed away last year, leaving behind a sizable inheritance. My grandpa and I had always been close. He never quite warmed up to Diane, which caused some tension in the family. But before he died, he made it clear he wanted his estate split between my dad and me. Now, my dad's threatening to cut me out of the will if I don't apologize to Diane and make things right. He says Grandpa would be disappointed in how I'm acting, but I know that's not true. Grandpa always encouraged me to stand up for myself. I'm at a loss. I love my dad, but I can't believe he's choosing Diane over me. Jake and I have moved out and are staying with his parents for now. They've been incredibly supportive, but I know it's not a long-term solution. My friends are split. Some think I'm overreacting, while others are telling me to press charges against Diane. My best friend, Sarah, has been my biggest supporter. She's never liked Diane and says she always got a weird vibe from her. I don't know what to do. Should I try to reason with my dad one more time? Should I just walk away from my family and the inheritance? Is there any way to prove what Diane did? I feel like I'm losing everything. My family, my home, and potentially a lot of money. But I refuse to put myself in danger or let Diane come between Jake and me. Any advice would be appreciated. Edit. Thank you all for the supportive comments and advice. To clarify a few things. 1. Yes, I'm sure about the peanut butter. The hospital confirmed it. 2. I've known Diane for 12 years and she's always known about my allergy. 3. Jake and I are 100% sure about what we heard and saw. We're not mistaken or lying. 4. I'm looking into legal options, but it's complicated since it's my word against hers. 5. I'm not going to apologize or pretend everything's okay just for the inheritance. My life and relationship are worth more than that. I'll update when I have more information or if anything changes. Thanks again for the support. Update. It's been about 6 months since my last post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It really helped me stay strong during this nightmare. First, the good news. Jake and I got married. We had a small ceremony with just his family and my closest friends. It was nothing like the big wedding we'd originally planned, but it was perfect for us. We wrote our own vows, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. My best friend Sarah was my maid of honor, and Jake's brother was his best man. It was beautiful and drama-free, which is exactly what we needed. We're officially moved into our own place now, and it feels great to have our own space. It's a small apartment, but it's ours. We've been enjoying setting it up together, choosing furniture and making it feel like home. It's been a healing process, creating a safe space that's just for us. Now, for the not-so-good news. My relationship with my dad has completely fallen apart. After my last post, I tried one more time to talk to him. I laid out everything. The peanut incident, Diane's behavior towards Jake, and how hurt I was that he didn't believe me. I even brought up specific incidents from over the years, hoping it would jog his memory or make him see the pattern. He listened, but in the end, he still took Diane's side. He said I was jealous of her and making up stories to break them up. He brought up times from my teenage years when I'd been moody or difficult, using them as proof that I'd always had a problem with Diane. It was like he'd completely forgotten our close relationship before she came into our lives. The inheritance situation has gotten messy. My dad followed through on his threat and changed his will. He's now leaving everything to Diane, with the condition that she take care of me if I ever come to my senses. It's insulting and heartbreaking. I can't help but think about my grandpa and how disappointed he would be in this whole situation. Diane has been busy too. She's been telling everyone who will listen that I'm mentally unstable and making up lies about her. She's spun this whole story about how she's always tried to be a good stepmom, but I've rejected her at every turn. Some family friends have reached out, concerned about my behavior. It's frustrating, but I'm trying to stay above it all. I did take some of your advice and spoke to a lawyer. Unfortunately, without hard evidence, there's not much I can do legally about the peanut incident. The lawyer suggested focusing on protecting myself going forward instead of trying to prove what happened. We've set up security cameras at our new place just in case. One bright spot in all this, my mom's sister, Aunt Sarah, reached out to me. We weren't close when I was younger. She lived across the country and visits were rare. But she heard about what was happening and wanted to help. She's been amazing. offering emotional support and even helping Jake and I with the down payment for our new place. It's nice to have some family on my side. Aunt Sarah has been sharing stories about my mom that I'd never heard before. It's bittersweet. I love learning more about her, but it also makes me miss her terribly. I can't help but think about how different things might be if she were still here. Work has been a good distraction. I got a promotion last month, which has helped take my mind off the family drama. My boss has been understanding about everything, giving me flexibility when I need it. Jake's been incredibly supportive through all of this. His parents have practically adopted me, inviting me to all family events and treating me like their own daughter. I've had to make some tough decisions about boundaries. I've blocked Diane on all social media and my phone. I told my dad I won't be contacting him until he's ready to listen to me and acknowledge what happened. It hurts, but I know it's necessary for my mental health. There have been some tough moments. Holidays are hard, and I miss the relationship I used to have with my dad. But I'm learning to build new traditions with Jake and our friends. We hosted Thanksgiving this year, and it was actually really nice. It felt good to fill our home with laughter and love. I'm still struggling with feelings of guilt and anger. Some days I want to scream at my dad for choosing Diane over me. Other days I miss him so much it hurts. I'm trying to focus on the good things in my life. My marriage, my job, my true friends. Jake and I have been talking about starting a family of our own someday, and that gives me hope for the future. I don't know what the future holds. Part of me hopes my dad will come around eventually, but I'm not holding my breath. For now, I'm focusing on building my own life and family with Jake. Thank you all again for your support. It means more than you know. I'll update again if anything significant changes. Update. I can't believe I'm writing this, but there's been a major development in my situation. It's been about a year since my last update, and everything has changed. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from my dad. He was crying and asking to meet up. I was hesitant, but Jake encouraged me to hear him out. We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a coffee shop we used to go to when I was in high school. Walking in, I was hit with a wave of nostalgia. We used to come here after my weekend soccer games, sharing a slice of apple pie and talking about everything and nothing. When I saw my dad, I barely recognized him. He looked older, tired, like he'd aged years in just a few months. He broke down as soon as he saw me, apologizing over and over. Then he told me everything. It turns out Diane had been having an affair for months. Not just any affair, she was sleeping with my dad's best friend, Tom. Tom and my dad had been friends since college. He was my honorary uncle, always bringing me quirky souvenirs from his business trips. He was even at my mom's funeral, supporting us through that difficult time. My dad caught them together at our family's lake house, the same lake house where we scattered my mom's ashes. He'd gone up there to do some maintenance, thinking some manual labor might help clear his head. Instead, he walked in on Diane and Tom in bed together. When he confronted Diane, she broke down and confessed to everything, including what she did to me. She admitted to putting peanut butter in the cake, knowing full well about my allergy. She said she wanted to teach me a lesson for being disrespectful. She also confessed to trying to seduce Jake, saying she was jealous of our relationship. Apparently, this wasn't the first time Diane had done something like this. My dad found out she'd had similar patterns in her previous marriages, causing drama, pitting family members against each other, and always playing the victim. It was like a switch had flipped, and suddenly he could see all the manipulation for what it was. My dad was devastated. He apologized over and over for not believing me. He said he felt like a fool for falling for Diane's lies and manipulations. He talked about how, after my mom died, he was so afraid of being alone that he ignored red flags with Diane. He said he'd convinced himself that having someone, anyone, was better than being alone. Now he realized how much that decision had cost him. He's filed for divorce and is working with his lawyer to undo the changes to his will. He said he wants to honor Grandpa's wishes and make sure I get my share of the inheritance, regardless of what happens between us. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me was relieved to be vindicated, but another part was angry that it took this long for my dad to see the truth. We talked for hours. He asked for a chance to rebuild our relationship, but I told him I needed time to process everything. As for Diane, she's moved out of my dad's house and in with Tom. Good riddance, I say. My dad mentioned she tried to claim half of his assets, including the inheritance from my grandpa, but his lawyer shut that down quickly. Apparently, the prenup they signed is going to come in handy. Jake has been my rock through all of this. He's supportive but also protective, reminding me that I don't owe my dad anything just because he finally realized the truth. We're taking things day by day. I'm still processing everything. It's a strange mix of emotions: relief, anger, sadness, and a weird sense of closure. I'm glad the truth is out, but it doesn't erase the pain of the past year. I find myself thinking about my mom a lot, wondering what she would say about all of this. Aunt Sarah has been an incredible support through all of this. She's been helping me work through my feelings about Dad, sharing her own experiences with forgiveness and family reconciliation. It's not easy, but I'm grateful to have her guidance. For now, I'm focusing on my own life. Jake and I are talking about starting a family, and I'm up for another promotion at work. We're also thinking about buying a house, something that seemed impossible a year ago with all the drama and uncertainty. I've had a few brief conversations with my dad since our initial meeting. They've been awkward and emotional, but I think we're both trying. He started seeing a therapist to work through his own issues, which I think is a positive step. I'm cautiously optimistic about rebuilding a relationship with my dad, but I'm not rushing into anything. We've agreed to take it slow, starting with occasional phone calls and maybe working up to short visits. It's strange, I feel like I'm getting to know him all over again. As for Tom and Diane, I've heard through the grapevine that they've already split up. Apparently, their relationship couldn't survive outside of the secrecy and drama. I can't say I'm surprised or that I have any sympathy for either of them. Jake and I are doing well. This whole ordeal has brought us closer together. We're stronger as a team, and I'm grateful every day for his unwavering support. We are planning a belated honeymoon for next month, a chance to relax and reconnect after all the stress of the past year. Work continues to be a positive outlet for me. I threw myself into my latest project, and it's paying off. My boss has hinted at a potential leadership role opening up in the near future. It's exciting to think about, and it's nice to have something positive to focus on. I've also been reconnecting with old friends who drifted away during the height of the drama with Diane. It's been healing to rebuild those relationships and to realize how much support I really have. Thank you all for your support throughout this crazy journey. I never imagined my life would take these turns, but I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned and the strength I've found in myself. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful. I'm learning to trust my instincts, set healthy boundaries, and surround myself with people who truly care about me. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. I may post again if there are any major developments, but for now, I'm focusing on moving forward and building the life I want. Thanks for being there through it all.